If you've been living under a rock for the past month, then you might not know that Bethesda has been making some massive changes to basically all combat in Fallout 76, coming with Season 21 in a few months. Just like the ranged weapons, Bethesda will be making some huge changes to the melee weapons of Fallout 76. Some are great, some are bad, but as always, let's break down the good, the bad, the ugly in this video while going over the whole list of changes. Before we get into the full list of weapons, I do just want to say that there are a lot of changes being made that were supposed to come to the Wasteland with the Gleaming Depths raid update, so I will be going through the list a little bit fast, and then I'll talk about the standouts, the negatives. Please pause and take screenshots, or go to the description and check out the straight article from the Bethesda website listing these changes, and as always, let's get into all of the changes, the good and the bad, right now. The first change on the list is reduce the damage of the auto axe from 31 to 24. The second is adjusted the damage of the V63 Z Highlander 85-45 to 64-64. And then, of course, increase the base damage for the following melee weapons. The Assaultron Blades going from 40 to 51 damage. The Baseball Bat is going from 55 damage to 69 damage. The Baton is going from 40 damage to 47. The Bear Arm is going from 50 to 63. The Blade of Basset is going from 52 to 61. The Plain Board is going from 50 to 68, quite a big increase there. The Bone Club is only going from 51 till 60. The Bone Hammer is going from 80 to 94. The Bowie Knife is going from 30 to 35. The Boxing Glove is going from 34 to 40. The Cattle Prod is going from 54 to 68, which is a big jump. The Chinese Officer Sword is going from 36 to 42, which is basically meaningless. The Combat Knife is getting a huge jump in damage, going from 33 damage to 52 damage. The Cultist Blade is getting a decent amount of damage, also going from 41 to 52. The Cultist Dagger is going from 32 to 38, which is basically nothing. The Death Tambo is going from 45 to 53. The Deathclaw Gauntlet is getting a pretty good buff, also going from 55 damage to 69 damage. The Electro Enforcer is going from 35 damage to 44 damage. The Fire Axe is going from 72 damage to a whopping 84 damage. The Plain Gauntlet is going from 50 damage to 63 damage. The Golf Club is going from 45 damage to 57 damage. The Grognak Axe is going from 85 to a well-deserved 107 damage, which is insane. The Guitar Sword is going from 50 damage to 59 damage. The Gulper Smacker is staying exactly the same, going from 62 damage to 62 damage. And, of course, the Hatchet is going from 40 damage to 51 damage. Continuing on with the list, the Knuckles are going from 35 damage to 44 damage. The Lead Pipe is going from 39 damage to 49 damage. The Machete is going from 40 damage to 51 damage. The Meat Hook is going from 34 damage to 40 damage. The Mole Miner Gauntlet, which is interesting, is going from 45 damage to 57 damage. The Multi-Purpose Axe is going from 69 damage to a whopping 87 damage. The Pickaxe is going from 60 damage to 78 damage. The Pitchfork is going from 47 damage to 59 damage. The Pipe Wrench is going from 30 damage to 38 damage. The Plasma Cutter is getting a well-deserved buff, also going from 26, 68 damage to 30, 86 damage, which is very nice, and a lot of people will be using that weapon a lot more, I could promise you that. Next, we have the Pole Hook going from 71 damage to a surprising 90 damage. Then the Pool Cue going from 46 damage to 58 damage. The Power Fist is up next, going from 58 damage to a well-deserved 73 damage. That's a good buff. The Revolutionary Sword is going to go from 44 damage to 56 damage. No one really uses that weapon anyway. The Rolling Pin is also getting a damage buff, going from 28 damage to 35 damage for some odd reason. The Sheep Squatch Club going from 60 damage to 76 damage. The Sheep Squatch Staff going from 75 damage to a whopping 95 damage. The Shepherd's Crook going from 50 damage to 63 damage. The Shish Kebab going from only 27 damage, which is a huge decrease from the other Fallouts, to a whopping 34 damage. Now, the Shovel is probably getting the biggest boost out of any weapon. It's going from a flat 40 damage to 70 damage for some odd reason. No idea why, no idea what they're planning to do with the shovel in later Fallout installments. Up next, the sickle is going from 36 damage to 45 damage. Then the ski sword is going from 50 damage to 63 damage, The sledgehammer is going from 71 damage to 90 damage. The spear is going from 58 damage to 68 damage. The super sledge is going from 85 damage to a well-deserved 107 damage. The switchblade will be going from 30 damage to 38 damage. The tenderizer, again, getting another well-deserved buff. It's going from 75 damage to 95 damage. The tire iron going from 29 damage to 37. The walking cane going from 42 damage to 53. The war drum going from 78 damage to 99. And finally, the last melee weapon that is getting a change is going to be the warglaive, going from 82 damage to a very well-deserved 104 damage. Now, that was a very long list and a lot of items. I know you might be tired, and I know I went pretty fast, so let's go into the important things and break it down right now. So let's start breaking this list down, and let's start at the top. Right off the bat, instantly, you'll notice that this list has a pretty significant damage decrease to everyone's favorite broken melee machine, the auto axe. I personally am considering this the only real negative of this whole list. They're reducing the damage of the auto axe from 31 to 24 damage. I get it, it was broken, but again, they shouldn't nerf people's fun, just bring the damage of the other weapons that they're trying to improve closer to the level of the auto axe instead of ruining people's builds that they've been using for over a year, unfortunately. So the auto axe is probably going to be the biggest change from all of this. A lot of people probably still are going to use it. That decrease from 31 damage to 24 damage, that 7 damage decrease, will not break the weapon, and there still are other ways to increase the damage of it. I promise you the auto axe will still be the most powerful melee weapon in the entire game, followed by the chainsaw and vice versa. Now, they are also nerfing the V63Z, which is another huge loss to the melee community, but not as much as the auto axe. The V63Z is going from 130 total damage to 128 total damage per swing, so that's not too noticeable or significant at all, but RIP to the auto axe, you definitely will notice that 7 damage per hit taken off. Again, it's not going to be the end of the world, and it still will instant kill enemies pretty much. However, it's just going to struggle a little bit more against the first raid boss. So if you are making a raid build right now, I highly suggest you finish it up before Season 21 comes out, and you may not be able to do it as smoothly with the auto axe anymore. So that's really the only negative, and it's right at the top of the list. Auto axe damage going from 31 to 24. People will be very upset about it, but I guarantee you won't be able to really notice the damage unless you're trying to do the raid as a melee build. And obviously, besides that one negative of the auto axe, there are a lot of positives with this giant list. Basically, every single melee weapon in the game is getting some kind of increase, but more importantly, you'll notice those two-handed melee weapons are finally getting the heavy buffs in terms of damage that they deserve. Like I said, the warglaive is going from 82 damage to 104 damage. That's pretty crazy. The super sledge is going from 85 to 107, and the Grognak axe is going from 85 to 107, just like the super sledge. So these weapons should finally be able to pack a real punch and be used pretty much at all levels, especially as a ghoul with that extra feral damage, which just completely breaks melee. But now you may actually be able to use these weapons without catching any side eye from other people in the Wasteland because you're not being as efficient as you can. But now that there's that increased damage for these two-handed weapons, you may be able to actually run an efficient build with one-shotting everything with a Grognak axe, just like you were able to do in Fallout 4 finally. So it's a huge positive that other people are going to be able to branch out a little bit more of melee weapons, and you're not going to be stuck to the auto axe. However, the auto axe and the chainsaw are still going to be the number 1 and number 2 melee weapons in the entire game, without a doubt. Just now, you're going to be able to use a super sledge without feeling like they completely ripped you off from Fallout 3 or from Fallout New Vegas. Just some final thoughts before we end the video. I do think all of these changes are beneficial in a lot of ways to a lot of different players. I personally love that Bethesda is making more weapons viable. The whole one-weapon meta was extremely boring after 5 years, but now this will make really a lot of fresh new options in terms of weapons and build combinations for a lot of people. Personally, though, I am a little salty about the auto axe because it's been overpowered for years. There's no need to change it up. It's still obviously the best melee weapon by far, but it does make me sad that they are somewhat nerfing it a little bit. I am, however, extremely ecstatic for the other changes and can't wait to bash in some skulls as a ghoul with my new properly powered Super Sledge. Everyone will be upset, unfortunately, because of the auto axe, but you can't really be that mad that every other melee weapon in the game is getting some type of buff to where now they're actually usable. You may argue that you are at level 5,000 and you don't care about other melee weapons, and that's fair. Go ahead and use the auto axe still. You'll be able to one-tap super mutants, you'll be able to one-tap super mutant behemoths just like you were before. You just may struggle a little bit more against the first raid boss, but it's still 100% doable by yourself with an auto axe and some power armor. Well, there you have it, ladies and gents of the Wasteland. There's the whole list of melee weapon changes. As of right now, they obviously could add some more or change some of the current changes that are listed. Again, this should be coming out with the Season 21 update in a few months as of the time of recording this video in April. Personally, I love the new melee changes besides the auto axe nerf, obviously, but it'll open up a few new doors from some more melee weapons to get added to everyone's daily mix of weapons. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Are you happy with these changes, or you don't really care because you don't use melee, or you're upset because you only use the auto axe and you don't want any other weapon to succeed? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I appreciate you motherfuckers for watching this motherfucking video. I will see you out there in the Wasteland. Go ahead and prepare. Maybe grab a chainsaw, throw a bloodied on it if you're not a ghoul, and if you are, throw a furious on it, just to be able to see the difference between the auto axe and the chainsaw. Once this update comes out, you may like the chainsaw a little bit more, or you may just want to stick with the auto axe because you don't notice the 7 damage decrease. But as always, I appreciate you guys. Have fun out there in the Wasteland.